Well, hello, and welcome to Open the Book. It's great to be with you again, even if it's virtually. Well, I know that this school encourages healthy eating. Now, healthy eating means eating foods like vegetables and fruit. It means having a balanced diet. Do you like vegetables and fruit? Well, those foods are very healthy and good for you, and so we are encouraged to eat them. In today's story, 4 boys ask to eat vegetables, and they refuse to eat some food that is specially prepared for them. Do they get into trouble? Well, let's find out as we open the book and read The Boys Who Like to Say No.
King Belshazzar was the king of Babylon. He was an important king. He was a king who loved parties. One day, Belshazzar threw an enormous party. He invited 1,000 of the most important people in the kingdom.
Come to my banquet. Come and enjoy the best food and finest wines that money can buy.
Belshazzar wanted to impress his guests. So, while they were all laughing and drinking, the king commanded his servants to fetch the gold and silver cups from his treasury. These weren't ordinary gold and silver cups. They were gold and silver cups which had been stolen from God's temple in Jerusalem. These cups were special. They had been set aside and should only be used on holy occasions. Belshazzar commanded his servants to fill the cups with wine and hand them out to his guests.
Drink up! Drink up! Enjoy the finest wines in the finest cups!
So, the king, his wives, and all his guests drank from God's special cups. As they drank the wine, they called out, "Hooray for the God of gold! Hooray for the God of silver!" Then, suddenly, the fingers of a human hand appeared in front of them. The fingers stretched out and wrote on the palace wall. The king watched in horror. His face turned pale. He was so frightened that his knees knocked together and his legs gave way. Slowly, steadily, the hand wrote on the wall. Then the hand disappeared as suddenly as it had appeared. The king couldn't read the writing. His guests couldn't read the writing. His wives couldn't read the writing. So the king called for the wise men of Babylon, the enchanters, the astrologers, and the diviners. And he said to them,
Whoever reads this writing and tells me what it means will be clothed in purple and have a gold chain placed around their neck, and they will be made the 3rd highest ruler in the kingdom.
The wise men of Babylon looked at the writing on the wall. They looked at each other, and they scratched their heads. None of them could read the writing, and none of them could tell the king what it meant. The king became more terrified and grew even paler. The king couldn't read the writing on the wall, and he was terrified, growing paler by the moment. Just then, his mother walked into the banqueting hall.
O King, live forever. I remember long ago when you were a little boy, there was a man who was bright and clever and wise. He could understand dreams, explain riddles, and solve difficult problems. He came from Jerusalem, and his name was Daniel. Call for Daniel, and he will tell you what the writing means.
So the king called for Daniel.
Daniel? None of my wise men can tell me what the writing on the wall means. My mother tells me that you understand dreams and can explain riddles and solve difficult problems. Well, if you can tell me what the writing on the wall means, you will be clothed in purple and have a gold chain placed around your neck. And you will be made the third highest ruler in the kingdom.
Your Majesty, I don't need your gifts. Keep them for yourself or give them to someone else. But I will read the writing and tell you what it means. O King, you don't understand that God is the ruler of the kingdoms of the world, and he can choose anyone he likes to be king. But you, Belshazzar, you think you are better than God. You dishonored God when you called for the special cups from the temple in Jerusalem to be brought into your feast. You dishonored God when you and your wives and your guests drank from them. You dishonored God when you worshipped the gods of gold and the gods of silver. You dishonored God, who holds your life and your kingdom in his hand. This is what the writing says. Mene, Mene, Tekel Parsin. Mene. This means that God has counted your days as king and brought them to an end. Tekel, you have been weighed on the scales and found lacking. Parsin, your kingdom will be divided and given to your enemies.
That very night, the country was invaded. Belshazzar was killed, and his kingdom was divided among his enemies, just as Daniel had said. Well, I don't think anyone would forget that meal, would they? Belshazzar was very frightened when he saw the hand writing on the wall. He'd made God very unhappy. Not only did he get very drunk, but he used the special cups that were set aside for holy occasions. It was very sad that he didn't respect God like Daniel did. King Belshazzar misused the gold and silver cups from the temple. Sometimes we use things that don't belong to us. Close your eyes and see if you can remember a time when you used something without asking. Now, I'm going to say a prayer, and if you want to make it your prayer, say Amen at the end after me. Dear God, please help us to respect other people's property and to respect you too. Amen. It was great to be with you, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye.